Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Giggle Economy Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Muscora. I'm here with my guest this week, Rachelle Cochran. How are you, Rachelle?
I am so delighted to be here, David. It's a beautiful day here in Portland, Oregon, and
Mm-hmm.
there's nowhere else I'd rather be besides sitting here with you
Well,
talking about past jobs.
yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I like that we're both hydrating at the same time. So here's to that. So
Yeah, cheers. What are you hydrating with right now?
I'm doing some soda water, some bubble water. Kind of, I don't know sure if it's good for the throat or not, but it makes me feel good, makes me feel comfortable. So what about you?
Good. I am drinking a Pimm's with some Sprite.
Nice. Very
My
nice.
lovely. Wait, what is it? It's a Pimm's cup.
Ah.
My lovely British lover just made it for me. Yes,
Well,
she's very good
wonderful.
at it. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much
Yeah,
for
thank
being
you
on the
so much.
podcast. Yeah, so I'm glad we both have your more regal drink over there, and then I'm drinking my commoner soda water. just water with
I wasn't
bubbles.
gonna say anything.
Just water with bubbles for me, but that's what we're talking about. I'm excited to go down this memories lane with you. Do you want to open up with a job? You can look at the way we've been doing it is either the person on the podcast can say a bunch of jobs that they've been like they happen to do it over their life, or we can go in one by one, however you prefer.
You know what? Let's go through it all,
Yeah.
actually, because there's a fun fact. Don't know if you know this, but they say that the average person will go through 11.7 jobs
Oh.
by the time they're 18 to 48. And I was curious to see like how that compared to my life. And I started working at Subway in high school, right before college. And then after my Subway shift, I worked at a Mexican restaurant, Extapas. I was a seating hostess. God, those were awful. And then I worked at the University of Oregon at the night library where I shelved books with a bunch of peeps. We worked in the stacks. We were stackers. And I graduated with an accounting degree. Woo! And worked at a tax accountant firm for 2.5 years. Those were some dark days, but met some great people. And then I got fired and did some major soul searching and sold pillows, bamboo pillows, with my roommate at the time at fairs, and then sold other things at fairs, and then started selling granola bars at Whole Foods, and then I worked for a winery import company, and now I finally find myself working for a software company, Drama
Nice.
Software, as an accountant. So kind of all full circle again.
Yeah.
8 jobs in total. I'm 30 years old. So
Nice.
I think I'm going to beat that 11.7
I
number.
think that average comes from like a simpler time where you would get a job from either, like maybe you've even like a trade school. People had more trade schools. Like maybe they knew they wanted to be a plumber in high school or junior high. And they're like, I'm going to be a plumber. There's an apprenticeship. So maybe that's where the number lowers. Whereas in today's economy, like this is
Totally.
called the giggle economy because it's based on the gig economy. You got to have a lot of jobs to make anything to make anything happen in this world. Houses are expensive. I don't know if you've
So
checked
true.
recently. Houses
Dude.
are expensive. And I'm like, how do people afford these things? That's insane.
I don't fucking get it.
Yeah.
I don't know how anybody does it, much less even get fucking married in this country. Like, not only do you spend all this shit on your wedding, you're gonna be financially depressed now, and now you're trying to like buy a house and start a family. Like, it's just, I don't understand how any of it works.
Not to sound like the biggest dad on a Zoom
It's
call,
depressing.
dad on a Zoom call, but I kind of think that like debt is the worst 4-letter word in the American lexicon right now. Like debt seems to be fucking.
Yep.
You can cuss, by the way, on this too. This is also actually
Can I?
real
I'm so
curse
sorry.
words.
I'm like, okay.
That was my dumb dad joke about the. Oh, what a dumb. I was like, oh, it popped in my head. I'm like, I got on this Carnival cruise with, you know what? The kids are going to like this one, that kind of thing. But let's rewind and let's talk about, so the first couple of jobs that you had kind of sounded like they were in the same, you were working during college and they were like, or did they start high school area? What time? Give me some timeline on that first couple jobs.
First couple jobs was the summer, the couple summers before I started college. Subway, I made sandwiches. but it was mostly at the register because I was really bad at making sandwiches.
So you've been in the arts for quite some time.
Yeah, more or less. I was really good at talking to people, though. I would always upsell them. You want to upsell people to a meal. That's how you get the buco bucks. I was really good at doing that.
Do you get like bonuses for that?
You get high praise from your boss. And my boss was really hard to please. She was a sweet woman from India, worked really freaking hard. But my gosh, she would critique everything you did, but she never really critiqued me at the register. She thought I did a really nice job.
Oh, good. Because I was thinking like, how Subway is Subway if they're like, you get a commission on these Sun Chips, and if you sell this Pepsi and this Sun Chips, that's money in your pocket you're leaving. I'm like, man, Subway is a grift. I was really thinking like some kind of sandwich Ponzi scheme that was happening. And I was like, what is happening? I'm glad some part of me is glad, because chips and a drink always sound good, but I'm like, I'm not a millionaire. No, I'm just here for the $5 footlong, which is no longer $5. So
a lot of things have changed, man. Yeah.
So clocking into Subway, you would what would be the worst part of this? Because there's been a lot of controversy in the news about Subway right now in Ireland. Did you hear about the Irish news about Subway? They don't consider Subway bread to be actual bread because it has too much sugar in it. So they have very high standards of bread. So it's not considered bread. Do you agree with that estimation by the country of Ireland?
God, yeah, I probably do. Like, if they thought they had too much sugar in their bread, do we have more sugar in our bread in America? Do we have, is it all the same bread in all the Subways in all the world? I
have no idea, but have you, the question that went back in my head is like, someone else, as a sandwich artist, did you have to make the bread, or did it come like pre-made to the stores, or?
It came pre-made and you just like heated it up.
Okay, yeah. So we have no idea on the process. I didn't know if you were just putting what you thought was some other ingredient like yeast, and it was just packets of sweet and low and equal, and it was just packet. We just got big shipments of frozen bread that you would just like heat up. So I have no idea where it came from. I have no idea how much sugar is in it. I bet you it's a shit ton, like everything else in this country. I remember my friend who recently passed away, but he was so funny he died of some COVID related, he's diabetes, but we also think he might've had it was like he had a cough. So it's like, he had a really heavy chest congestion. So I don't know. I don't want to speculate. I don't want to speculate. David. Oh, no. And that's me guessing. I think the actual description on his death certificate was complication of diabetes. He wasn't even that big. He was just a bigger dude. And, but the last time I spoke to him was a week before he died, and he had a cough, and that really freaked me out. But he worked at Subway. To tie it back to Subway, he worked at Subway, and he would did you have a camera that was watching your every sandwich move? Did that happen? Okay. Yep. So and our little boss would come in the middle of his shift when she knew we weren't working. Yeah. Go on. So what he would do is he'd wait till the camera panned, sneak a salami or a piece of pepperoni, and then go back to like wiping down the counter, and then like pan that way. Oh, bell pepper. Like, so he was like, he'd have a lot of free snacks on the camera's dime on that one. So I don't know. He's a funny dude. It's awesome. I'm very sad that he's gone, too young to be out of this world, but I'm very, I always enjoyed his story. He made the situation. Yeah. So was there a sandwich that you hated making at Subway? And what would be that process? Yes, there is, David. I'm glad you asked that. I still get cold sweats thinking about this moment. It was the meatball sandwich. And you always want to ask people if they want double meat because more moolah. And this motherfucker said, yeah, I want double meat on my meatballs. Well, that's 16 meatballs on a foot long sandwich. And by the time I was trying to fit all these meatballs in the sandwich, as I was putting it in the bag, he wasn't looking, thank God. The meatballs were falling out and just into the bag. And I just kind of shoved it in there and put it in the bag. Fortunately, he wanted it to go. But I can only imagine how pissed he must have been with that soggy bread and the meatballs just old on the bottom. And it was really, really bad.
And that's probably one of the last days I was allowed to make sandwiches.
They
Now that I think about it.
This is what I think about that. I made this joke before, but like, you're a sandwich artist. You're not a sandwich engineer. You don't know the structural integrity of how many meatballs. And apparently it's 15 to 16 is going to topple the whole foundation of any kind of bread. So how many meatballs came in a normal sub as opposed to a double? Was it 8?
Just 8.
So this guy,
Just
it was
8,
16.
yeah.
It was 16 meatballs. Is that what you said? That's
16 meatballs.
insane.
Yeah.
And just like any vegetable. That just makes me laugh just thinking about how wet that sandwich is. Just like a big.
It was so soggy, man.
So
big soggy bottom.
And then you said you were next one from there. You didn't get fired yet. You quit of your own accord. You left there, and maybe not. Maybe
I left on my own accord.
And maybe you worked there at the same time, but you were also a singing hostess or singing waitress. Is that what you said?
Yeah, at night I was a seating hostess at a Mexican restaurant. God bless Luis. He's such a great guy, great boss. And I worked with primarily guys from Mexico who were the hardest workers I've ever seen. And then I just dealt with the shittiest people I've ever dealt. I grew up in a really small town. Elmira, to be exact, Veneta, that's what the country fair is. Everybody should check it out. And one of the worst experiences I ever had with a human being, this is the first time I ever was introduced to racism to a degree. A woman called the restaurant and said, "Hey, I think I left my purse there underneath the seat. Can you go check?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." I went to where she was sitting, checked it out, nothing there. And I got back on the phone and I said, "Hey, your purse is not here anymore. Are you sure maybe it's not in your car or anything?" And she was like, "Oh, come on. I know what kind of people work there. I know I left my purse there. I'm going to come back right now and talk to the manager." And she hung up. And I was like, "Okay, great. I can't wait to deal with this." And then I get a phone call 5 minutes later with her apologizing. "Actually, I found my purse. It was in my trunk. I'm really sorry." She just hung up. It's like, wow. It's really depressing that people like that exist. And these poor guys who work their asses off every single night, I'm sure they experience it way more than I could ever imagine. But I was like 17 when I got that. And I was like, wow, this is shit.
My parents own a Mexican restaurant, and we always had things like, I was a host, I was a server, I was a little bit of a dishwasher because I didn't like that. And I worked with my parents. Then the things that I would always get, I was much darker back in the pre-COVID days, back in the
Weren't we all?
And so I this is very pale looking. I look, I look more Spanish than Latino Mexican. I look like I should have a lisp right now, like I'm from that region of Spain that has a lisp or whatever. I'm from Lisbon or maybe even Portugal. I don't know, but I remember.
I could see that.
I remember that I would work at the Mexican restaurant, a little brown boy, and people would come up to me and they were like, "Oh my God, you speak really good English." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks. I learned because I was born here." Like that kind of thing.
Wow.
From a very early, I was like, "Wow, your English is very good." And a part of me was like, "Thank you." But a part of me was also like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
So you were a singing hostess. What is that? What did the singing entail? What did you sing? What kind of like?
I was a seating hostess. Seating hostess.
I was thinking you were a singing hostess, which would have been like, I'm like, you have so little time to get these people to their table. What song do you sing to them? That's what I was thinking. I don't know.
How fun would
you're like, yeah,
follow me. Here is your table. I don't know. I mean, that could have been really fun.
I thought it was like you're like in the TikTok world, you could be like, you have 10 seconds. Fucking let's nail this song. Let's fucking nail this song. I thought you said singing hostess. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of pressure on you. Yeah. Like you had tap shoes on. You're like, this way, this way, this way. Yeah. That's
no.
That's where my ears misheard.
Now I wish I was a singing hostess. What a fun little.
What song do you think in your heart when you think about all the music you had listened to at that time? Would you ever sing if you had to sing to a table besides the birthday song, which every server, any host has to probably sing in their life of like happy birthday from all of us to you. We're so excited to see you, and then that kind of stuff. What? Because you couldn't use the birthday song because the birthday song was copyrighted until just recently.
Mm-hmm.
Now the birthday song is public domain, so I can sing it all I want on this podcast. I don't know if you knew that, but now you can sing "Happy Birthday" all you want, and it's completely
Whoa, I
legal.
did not know that.
For a while, it was. I don't know when it went to the public domain. I think within the last 10 years for sure. But you couldn't sing "Happy Birthday" unless you paid somebody some moolah. But what song would you pay someone at a table? Like if you like dislike them, if you like them, what song rang in your heart do you think that you would sing to like if they tipped you really well, or if they were just shitty to like, if anything pops in your head, let me know. Cause if like, I don't know.
Oh God, probably just like, thank you for being here. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. I don't even know. That's a great question.
I thought you were going Golden Girls, like, thank you for being a friend, like, yeah. By the way, which I definitely is copyrighted. I'll stop singing that right away.
It would probably something along those lines. Yeah.
So I was thinking to myself, so you work in a bunch of jobs, like pre-college and then college. Let's move into that one. So we did the first two. What's the next one on the list?
The next on the list. So during my time at the University of Oregon, I worked at night library.
Oh, night library
on campus night library on campus.
Coming this fall to NBC, night library. Starring Rachelle Cochran.
Actually, could be a great show. Just a show about all the people stacking books. Yeah. I just people rent books in the library. They put them in that little Dropbox thing, and we're the little peasants who go and we restock the books in the night library. And that, if I had to go back and do a job again, like I'd probably be that one, just because you just fucked around with your friends all day. The loudest people in the library were the people who work there, obviously. And you just hear the craziest stories. Like, I know a guy who walked in and a couple having sex in one of the mystery rooms in the night library where they would store all the book carts. And then like a bunch of us would just take naps in the aisles of the books because we were just like so hungover and so over it. And it was a lot of camaraderie. It was a shit job, and we all half-assed it, but it was a lot of fun.
Definitely some, you would think like people that worked at a library, their next step would be like, okay, let's maybe move these two people to a record store or even a book, like a bookstore or something like that. But what a funny and also you brought something up that very interesting to me. People do either nap or have some kind of sexual activity around books. I don't know what it is about books, but people get horny around books. I don't know I don't know if it's like just because books are like not judgy, like maybe that's the thing where it's like they're like, if we put faces on the front of books, all of books, and they just kind of looked at you and leered at you, no one would ever be having sex in the stacks. No one would be doing anything. But there's something very like, and I feel like with having sex, they're like, you need a private place. You're like, no one reads in this country. That sounds great. Let's go have sex where no one is. We can have sex in public, but no one's going to be there. And also it's just good. It's a good insulator. I feel like, you know how like, you like a podcast, you're like, or a voiceover, you're like, I want to make my room. I'm going to put egg cartons on the walls. I think if you're going to do some public fucking, I think some good library books is some good insulation for that. I don't know. Did you ever catch? Yeah. Did you ever catch anybody having sex or?
I did not, unfortunately. No, I did not.
But I remember.
I know people who have.
It's a crazy thing to even attempt. I don't even know why. You're like, maybe because like no one cares about getting kicked out of a library. Like no one, like if their library, what's the word? Credentials get taken away. No one's ever like, damn it, I can never go back to the library ever again. Everyone's like, I'll be fine. I know, I kind of know the Huckleberry Finn at this point. I'll be fine. I don't know.
The written word, man, it makes people do crazy things sometimes.
I remember when the internet got to libraries, it was a big deal. Like, the decks of computer, like the little circle of computers, there would be, I was living in Chicago and I was going there to like, work on my resume if I didn't have a job, or I would just go there and like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to search around, because why not? There's free internet here. Like that used to be a thing that people used to look for, free internet. And I remember they used to kick hella homeless people out for masturbating at the computers, and you're like, that's some ballsy activity.
Very bold. Yes.
Yeah, just some bold and poor.
Now that you mentioned that, we had to kick a few people out too at Night Library.
For masturbating at the computers or something like that?
Yeah, from watching porn. Yeah, at the I don't understand how they were able to access those sites, but like some guys found a way to like find porn on the internet.
Because back in the day, it's a lot harder, right? Like you couldn't just type in Pornhub or RedTube or whatever the ones you had to type in like XXX dot left one is cool round round butt cheek, like dot org or whatever non-for-profit porn site you were doing. Because I don't know, or I remember one time during my adolescence, I was trying to be a teenager, and I thought to myself, like, my mom and dad just got a printer. I'm like, I'm gonna find some nudie pictures. I'm gonna print out. And I got so nervous that one time I think I didn't understand like that things that when you print and they don't print out still stay in the queue. Like if they were like in the queue and then like, you know, your mom's out of ink or your dad didn't buy in paper. And then when the next time like, I guess it just disappeared. And then my dad would like put a bunch of paper in and then he's like, why is there like a picture of a naked girl coming out of my printer right now? I go, I don't know. I think one of your, I would have my dad like, I think one of your kids is real sick. I don't know. This is disgusting, Dad. I don't know. I think because like I could always also blame it on on his brothers because they would also come like, I think one of your Mexican brothers just came here and just started looking up. Now I don't know, Dad. By the way, I have to
print out that booty. That's so funny.
I have to go to good church right now. So excuse me, and no masturbating here. So, but
that's
so
awesome.
I love the idea of the sliding, the books coming in. That would be my like white noise machine if I needed something to put like podcasts. If there was a podcast that called 9 hours of books falling into the night, like the night return box, it would just be like shh, shh. That's what a comforting, comforting sound and what a comforting job that must have been.
It was. You're right. It's very much like a babbling brook, for sure. And I do miss it. I miss those sounds. I miss the people I work with. It was a good time. It was a fuck old job, but we had a good time.
Did you ever keep a book that you forgot, that you checked out and you forgot to ever turn back in?
God, no, because I didn't check out any books from the library. Yeah, wasn't much of like a leisurely reader when I was done with my schoolwork. I just I drank too much. Yeah.
You were working too hard. You were like, so I get it. After that, and so we're still on the journey of you're having jobs, but you still are leaving these jobs of your own accord. Thank you very much, Night Library. It's been wonderful, but I'm time to go. What is the next job on that list? Remind me one more time.
Yeah, after I graduated college, I went to work for a public accounting firm, Perkins and Company, as a tax accountant. Yeah. Is
that something that you had that you were excited to do? Did you get your degree in that?
I did. I got my degree in accounting because I had a bunch of relatives graduate in 2008 during the recession, and I was like, fuck me, like no one's getting a job of what they're getting degrees in. I need to do something practical and get a degree in the one thing I hate most, and that's accounting. But you know, it pays the bills. It's stable at the end of the world, you know, death and taxes, baby. It's the truth. And so I decided to be a tax accountant and sacrifice a good portion of my life. And that's when I was really starting to try to get into comedy. And it was super hard to balance working 60 hours a week with telling jokes. And I was miserable. Pretty miserable, but fortunately they liked me enough to keep me on for a few years. I didn't want to be a CPA, and that's very frowned upon in the public accounting community. And I get it, but one day they brought me in and they said, Rachelle, who are we kidding? You're not an accountant. You're not happy here. This is going to be your last day at Perkins and Company. And boy, did it rock my world.
And they let you, this is when you got fired. Oh my goodness. Explain, like give me a picture. We've been talking a lot about this on the podcast. what your work area looked like. Were you, I'm going to bring a lot of, were you a trinket person? Were you like, I'm going to make my little, were you a cube? Were you an office? Were you a pod? What was the situation? What did the workspace look like at the accounting firm?
Yeah, it was a cube, and I guess you could say I was a trinket person. I had a bunch of weird pictures everywhere, just like inspirational quotes and shit. And then I had a shit ton of shoes. Like I had so many clothes in my desk. It's like I lived there because I felt like I lived there. I had my guitar in my cube because late at night I would sing really sad songs when I was done working, and the little janitor Miguel would come in. I love Miguel, and he would listen to me. He's very sweet.
Oh my God, we got to get back to that. Don't speed through the sad songs at the accounting firm. What are you talking about? You would sing sad song. Like, could you remember any of the lyrics to these sad songs that you would sing at the accounting firm? Like, what would be like? I just picture some kind of sad, kind of like, what was that show called? The Schoolhouse Rock version of like CPA work,
Yes.
just do you remember anything or any context of any of the songs you were singing?
God, I mean, most of them were like sad love songs that I tried to learn. And then like I would sing a lot of like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Like come up with just like really sad things. And I would also be somewhat intoxicated at that point too. We had a keg in our kitchen, and after I was done working, I just like had a few beers, and I asked a lot what I was doing with my life because I was just so miserable, and and playing my guitar was a good way to help channel that. And then I would try to go to mics afterwards if I decided to do that, which was not very often back then.
I like the idea of the janitors coming in and seeing you and just being like him, just like backing up, just like, I'll get your desk later. I'll get your trash later.
Yeah,
Looks like you need a moment. I'll be right back. I remember one time I have a janitor story where it was like, I was downtown. I think I was visiting a friend. I was in Fort Worth, Texas, and there was a promenade in the center square of Fort Worth, Texas. And they had just had an event, and this janitor was like sweeping, and it was really good acoustics because they were doing musical shows in the center of Fort Worth. And he was just singing Redemption Song by Bob Marley, just acoustically. And it was breaking my just sweep. There's something very heartbreaking about like just dun, 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 dun. It would just redemptions, and it would just like fill this center square of Fort Worth, Texas. And I was like, oh man, I'm so sad right now watching this janitor clean the stage on this. I think it was like a weekend. I don't know if there had just been maybe it was a Christmas show. I don't know what I was visiting for, but it was something like that. It broke my heart. So
yeah, wow, that makes me kind of teary. That's sweet.
Oh no! And I was going to say, speaking of teary things, do you remember what day of the week you got fired? Was it a Friday? Nope.
It was a Wednesday, and I was like, why would you fire me on a Wednesday? And she said, if people are fired on Fridays, they're more likely to commit suicide. I guess that's a fact. Did you know that?
Whoa, no.
Yeah, and so they do it in the middle of the week, so as to like, I don't know what the difference is, but if you get fired on a Friday, it's like, well, fuck, it's the weekend. Like I have nothing to do tomorrow, or you don't have anything to do tomorrow anyways to get fired. So yeah, a Wednesday in the middle of the week.
I guess the fact of having that Thursday to watch The Price is Right is somewhat comforting. I mean, if that's what's keeping people, if you get fired on a Friday and then you're like, I guess I'll just drink a bunch and get in a car because it's Friday night, like some kind of sad Katy Perry song or something like that. I don't know, but that makes sense. Did you, when you had to pack out your cube, how long did it take for you to get all your trinkets, your clothes, your shoes? Was it so embarrassing? You're like,
yeah. So here's the thing. They don't want you to do it during the workday. I got fired probably around 2:00.
Oh man.
And they don't want you to do it during the workday.
Not even 5 o'clock.
They tell you, not even 5 o'clock in the middle of the fucking afternoon. And they tell me, how about you go and get a drink somewhere and then come back and take your stuff after everyone has left, so you don't have to deal with a scene. And I was like, okay, well, fuck me. So I went to a yard house. What's that place called downtown? And I just got drunk with my now partner. And that's where I met my girlfriend, actually, was Perkins and Company. So that was the best part of that job.
See, that's a great one. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that I like the other way you went, where you went to a yard sale and just got opened up a tall boy and just got drunk near someone's used trinkets near a group.
Bought some more fucking trinkets. Yeah.
That would
have been.
Bought yourself an elliptical. You're like, I don't have the money for this elliptical, but you know what? It's only $20, so I'm gonna get it.
Can't afford not to buy it, right?
Did you have any weird goodbyes? Like, did you say goodbyes to anybody? You're like, well, God. Susan, see you never. Cause I'm not, bye Susan. Or did you have to say goodbye to anybody before you left?
I didn't.
Wow.
The next day my desk was empty and everybody that's how they knew. And then they sent out an email the next day, Rachelle's no longer with us. We appreciate her time here, but she's no longer part of Perkins, blah, blah, blah. And then I think I wrote a goodbye email to my closest coworkers. But no, I didn't say goodbye to anyone that day. I got a lot of texts the next day, very sweet messages. But I just couldn't deal with it. It was just such a shock to my system. Everything goes in slow motion when you're getting fired for the first time,
Yeah.
But I will say I'm really grateful for that experience because when it comes to having a job, that's the worst that can happen. And I've been through it. And you survive, you get past it. There are better days to come. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
and it's just one step to getting to where you need to go next.
I'm glad you met your girlfriend that day. That was a nice little
yes.
So
yes,
silver lining on that. Did they give you any severance package? I'm always fascinated on severance package, or do they go, you're just gone?
Oh yeah. So as an accountant, you get 5 weeks PTO.
Oh.
Because you work 60 hours every week for 4 months. So they
that
give
was
you a lot
nice.
of vacation time. Yeah. So I did get I got a bunch of PTO, paid out PTO, which was nice.
That's good.
But yeah. So I was pretty steady for a while, and then I filed for unemployment, and rode that for a bit while doing some soul searching. And my roommate at the time sold bamboo pillows that he would buy from China. And then he sold them at fairs. And I worked with him a few times, and that's a hard job. And you also feel kind of dirty in a way, because these are cheap ass pillows that he buys for $2 a piece, and then you're selling them for 30 to people. Come on. And
I think I bought one. Do you know where Mall 205 is?
Yes, I do.
So I think I went there with I went there and there was those kiosks, and I kind of felt Mall 205. If you don't know what Mall 2, now is that what it's called, Mall 205, or is that the road that it's on, Multnomah 205? I can never make it make sense in my brain. Is it Mall 205? Is that what the mall is called? It's called Mall 205.
Yeah, I think so. That's the only way I've heard it described. Mall 205.
So you would walk into this one, and it was just a bunch of closed stores, and this is pre-pandemic, so it's just a bunch of closed stores, a Penny's that is already shut down, and then the only people working really were a costume shop, a record shop, and then a bunch of the middle of the row kiosks that you would see in malls. And there was this guy, and he was selling bamboo pillows, and I actually this is really comfortable. He's like, hey, you ever? I'm all my neck does hurt. He was really good. What was your pitch on selling these pillows? I know they're cheap now, because now I remember later on I'm throwing it away. I'm this thing is, I think, falling apart on me. I don't know if it's healthy to have bamboo scraps all in your bed, but I think I had a couple of pieces of bamboo scattered all over my bed.
Yeah, it shouldn't be happening. I'm sorry that happened. My pitch was this will, I'm selling dreams here, people. I'm selling dreams. You want a good night's rest? Come put your head on one of these. You won't sweat. It's temperature control, blah, blah, blah. I sell dreams, baby. And I would just say that over and over again. I try to put a lot of humor into it, corny freaking jokes.
Which one's harder?
And, they got people's attention.
No, I was going to say, which one's harder? Selling pillows or going up cold at an open mic with nothing to say? What do you think is harder to do as someone that's a very funny comedian? Because they're both kind of terrifying.
God.
They're both selling something you kind of don't believe in. You know what I'm talking about? You're I need to do this for either monetarily gain or to be better at this art. But you're this isn't going to go well. I'm maybe going to sell one of these. I have 8 of these. I'm maybe going to sell one of these. Right. I don't know how what do you think in your head?
God, God, that's a really good question. I would say probably the open mic, because when you're up there doing those jokes, you're in front of your peers and you have nothing to say, you know, and like they'll get made fun of later. Whereas I'm never going to see this person again that I sold the pillow to. Hopefully they'll never find me when they realize the pillow was shit. So I would say I have dreams, nightmares about going to open mics and not having anything to say and just like crying on the stage. Like, it's so weird. I've had more of those dreams now during COVID than ever, because it's been so long since I've been on stage. Like, did I lose it? Like, what happens if, like, when we could finally go back and I get to the stage, I have nothing to say. I can't remember anything.
Yeah.
So it's a big fear for me now, actually.
I hope this helps. This is why I started the podcast, to talk to really funny friends and help them get some of their thoughts out of their head. Because honestly, I've only been on stage. Last time I was on stage was March, and then I got booked on a show in October, and it was a safe show. We all used different mics. We all wore masks. It was outdoors.
For sure.
And there was about 30 people that weren't comedians. And it was a outdoor coffee shop, and everyone was spaced out. And when we weren't performing, we wore masks. And like I said, knock on wood, feel pretty safe about it right now still. So that was, I've only been up once. No, I've been up total of 4 times, because I did open mics before that show. So I went up a total of 4 times, and it was rusty as hell. Yeah. But I think it's you got to be careful. And also it's kind of weird. People, I do salute the people that aren't comedians, the people that are civilians that still want to hear some kind of entertainment and still kind of want to see something that reminds them of pre-COVID times and how this is going to change. And it's hilarious to see someone not be sure if someone bombs because the pandemic is no one knows, because no one wants to spit too much. Like, there's like laughter. Definitely. I got like, mine was a great set. I enjoyed my set. I feel like I did good. But like during the open mics, people were like, okay, so that was a joke. I'm like, yeah, that was a joke. And they're like, okay, well, okay. You tried. And I was like, is this pandemic or is this a new joke premise? Which I'm confused. It's good that I'm confused, but okay, this is fine. We'll work this out.
I will say that is a nice little cushion that we have right now. You know,
don't be too hard on yourself. When you get back on stage, you can be completely new who you were before. Like, what was the last joke you told on stage? You can do it again. You can make it. You can break it all down. You can be a new personality on stage. Have fun with it. You know?
Hell yeah, man! Absolutely. Hell yeah! Are you still writing a lot right now during all this?
I'm writing. It's always like something in the phone where it's like I was thinking to myself, like, man, who knew a pandemic would be so boring at times? Like, you know, you see like pictures of the Black Plague, like paintings of the Black Plague where they're dragging bodies. And I feel guilty about that, because all I'm doing is because this is different. They had to bring, you know, there was like, and now I'm just having like, I watched all of Queen's Gambit. I don't know. Should I start playing chess?
Right.
I don't know. And then like, is this real? Was she a real character? Oh no, okay. Like, and then, so I'm doing I'm doing some, but you know, it's, what about you? Are you out there writing some stuff, getting thoughts in your head out?
Yeah. For a while I met up with a couple comedians on Zoom like this, and we just like threw ideas out at each other. It was like a writing workshop on Zoom. That was fun. We did that once a week for a while, and then it kind of stopped in the middle of the summer when like shit was getting crazy. And then I've been to 2 open mics that were very safe. Shout out to the comic who did that, because I know they got a lot of crap for doing that. And but you know, a lot of us really needed it. And like the last mic I did was 2 weeks ago, right before the shutdowns, and I was gonna have a show in Eugene today, actually. No, yesterday. Yes, Saturday, and that got canceled. And but other than that, I've been up twice since March. My last show was in March too.
So we're about in the same boat. Yeah, it's very scary.
Yeah, it's really scary, and the future of comedy still looks pretty fucking bleak.
So it does, and that's why we're talking about all this other stuff. What are you doing for yourself to kind of think about? We're doing as much as we can. Are you saving for your retirement any, or do you have any like this is one of the questions people like. I always want to ask my comedian friends. What are you thinking about 30, 40 years in the future if you have to retire? Do you have anything set aside or? Or are you not even thinking about that yet?
Fortunately, I'm really blessed in my job. They have a 401k program that I contribute to every month or every paycheck, and they match to a certain percent. So I'm really lucky with that. But also, like, that's still depressing. They say, like, by the time you're 30, you should have a whole year's worth of salary saved already in your 401k. No, I don't. I don't have that. And like half the Americans in this world are going to be ready for retirement when they're ready for retirement. Like, it's really depressing thinking about the future like that, because
a lot of
us are really prepared.
Yeah, because a lot of their comic friends have been like, I guess I'll just die at a job. Like that's everyone's been answers like, I guess I'll just be working a job and then I'll just die, right? That's like, and then you're like, but what about your do you have life insurance? Like, no, like just like no way.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know. It's a little nerve wracking. But let's bring it to a happier. Let's bring it to a happier place. Out of all those jobs on that list,
yes.
Let's we can hear the rumble of the four horsemen behind us, but you know what? Let's ignore the whinnies of the horses, Let's look forward and look to that silver lining.
Ignore the whinnies, baby. Ignore the whinnies. Yeah.
What you said, besides the night library, what would be what would be your perfect day at any job? If you could Groundhog Day one day of your work life experience, what day would you want to relive and explain that to everybody listening to the podcast?
I really enjoyed working at Ixtapas. I really enjoy working at the Mexican restaurant. I had so much fun with the servers who work there. And so while I wasn't a singing hostess, I did play my violin every so often. And I only really played fiddle songs. So it was a very crazy infusion of cultures when I would come around my violin. But I had a really fun time at that job and I looked forward to it. At the same time, I was scared because I had a really hard time like figuring out what things were on the menu when people would order them. It was a really big menu. But like, I really enjoyed working with the people there. That in the library, like it's the people I miss the most. And just like the camaraderie, like we're all going through this bullshit together, we're all here for one purpose, that's to pay our bills and I think just friendship.
I think that working in food service is really something everyone should do. Some kind of hospitality, whether it's food service or retail, which I've done both. I've worked like at a record store. I sold like sporting goods. I've worked at a Mexican restaurant. I worked at a bar. I think everyone should know what it's like to work with the public and learn what it's like to be like a thankless, faceless person too. When I go into a restaurant, I like to like, thank you so much. Like, oh, where can I go? But sometimes you see those people that just like, you're just like a talking telephone pole to them. Where's the bathroom? Where's the menu?
Yeah.
Where's the bar? Like, and that kind of things. And you kind of like, oh, I want to be really appreciative. Also, you brought a fiddle to the restaurant and you didn't bring it up at the beginning. That's insane. That's like an insanely fun detail that I didn't hear. What was the discussion on that? You didn't. You would bring a fiddle, and then I know as a Mexican person, they're like, that's not a confusing instrument. They knew what a fiddle was, but why did you bring it there? You're very musical. We're going to talk about your musical stuff in a minute, but why did you bring a fiddle to a Mexican restaurant?
There was a lot of lag time between when people would come in and get seated, or like we didn't really get very many calls for takeout back then. And so I was like, well, what can I do to really enhance the guest experience? Like, what do I have? I was really into violin. I was part of orchestra then. I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring my violin and just make the food taste all that much better with the sweet sounds of my strings. And I just walked around and played violin, and I only did it a few times. A handful of times, but it was fun.
Did you get tipped out?
I don't know. You know what? I did not, unfortunately.
I was wondering. I didn't know they're like, oh, okay. Because I imagine at the Mexican restaurant, not to say that we can't all be cornucopias of people that works at a Mexican restaurant, but I'd be like, oh, white mariachi. This doesn't seem authentic. Like I would,
that's funny.
I would appreciate it, but I was like, is this extra or do I tip her? I don't know what's going on. But you're very musical because like you were doing, you're a DJ as well, right? You do like house shows and stuff like that.
I used like a wedding DJ. I had like 4 weddings this summer. Obviously all got canceled, but like I do that on the side. I really enjoy it. I took a DJ class with my partner and I fucking just loved it. It was like something fun to do during the winter last couple years ago.
What is that like? Because like I have no idea what that process is like. Can you explain any inspiring DJs or people that want to go out and be an event like coordinate? That seems so much fun. That just seems so, and you seem like your personality seems perfectly suited to be the life of the party. And you seem like you're just going to be everyone's best friend at any event that you would DJ. So how did that start? And did you have any memorable moments from those days or events?
Yeah, I do. I remember exactly how it started. One of my best friends was like, Rachelle, you'd be such a fun DJ. You should look into taking a class and just see if you like it. And I was like, you know what? I do. I really love music. I love exploring new music. I love like the art of blending beats. I think it's so fucking rad. And so I looked up in Portland and they offer a class downtown by Kells in that little record store. And you get to work with DJ Wicked, and he works solely with vinyl. Like he brings just bags and bags of vinyl when he goes to his weddings, and he switches them out and does all by vinyl. So he doesn't really have a screen to tell you like how to blend the beat, you know? He does it all by ear. And so that's how we learned with DJ Wicked, and it was so fun. And I was hooked. And then I just bought like a cheap little controller for a couple $100 and some cheap ass speakers that were loud enough for a wedding. And just like went to town. My cousin asked me to DJ her wedding when she found out that I was into it. And I only charged her like $200. And it was a great time. I did pretty well. And then just word of mouth. And I think I've DJ'd like 3 weddings. So not very many. I only started a few years ago, but they're so fun. There's like something it's like a different high. Like when you play a song and you get that dance floor crowded, you're like, fuck yeah. Like I did that.
So is it kind of like, how do you coordinate yourself with your DJ name? How do you give yourself a DJ name? Because like DJ Wicked, did he have stock in like Spirit Halloween or something like that? Like, or was he just a big fan of Ursula from Little Mermaid? And what was your DJ name? We haven't even gotten in yours.
Yeah. Before I get into mine, so DJ Wicked, he's a very white guy. And I just think he could just like, he was wicked at what he did. He just like, he blended them wicked. I don't know. Like, you know,
I didn't know if you're like, he was a white guy. Enough said. Like he just looked at his race and gender and be like, white guy, male, DJ Wicked, DJ Gentrifier, done. You know,
it all adds up. Yeah. My DJ name, I don't even know how I come up with it. I really liked the word racket, like turn down that racket, you rascals, you dirty, you loud kids. And I was like, shit, I really want to try to incorporate the word racket because I'm really loud and I want to like be as loud as I can when I DJ. And I was thinking, what about if I put the word dirty in front of racket? Like how sexy does that sound? Dirty racket. And so I get a lot of people who think I'm into tennis with a name like that, but you know, I guess it's a DJ name for the people who can really understand it. It's for the smart. It's for the people who understand that it's more than just it's not about tennis. It's about sound.
I like it. Racket. DJ Dirty Racket. Thank you. I think it fits. Like, I think also a being a loud person, as someone that is also a loud person, our voices carry as comedians, as loud people. What was something you have your rules of DJing? What would be one song or one like kind of like, I'm never going to do this at any of my gigs. And then one song that you hated playing at like weddings or something that you're just like, what did DJ Wicked say? Don't ever play the chicken dance or don't ever play like what was something?
I will tell you. So my cousin's wedding, this is something I really hated doing. Cause the guy who asked me to do it is really freaking annoying. So my family has a tradition of like singing this one song, I need a hero. And then like all the girls would dance around the groom. It's really weird. And
so it's a new tradition. I think that song's like
it's a new tradition. Yeah, it's a new tradition, and I knew that was coming. But then the brother of the groom of that wedding came up to me, and he was like, "Hey, can you play that one song again? I want to do a dance this time." And when he came up to me, he was, I just like I couldn't say no because he's the brother of the groom, and it's like, okay, well, like, sure. Even though we already played it, like, are you sure? He's like, yes, please, I'm begging you. And I was like, okay, fine. And so I played it again, and he comes out shirtless, oiled down. He's a bodybuilder, and he's just like parading around and dancing with his muscles to this song we played already. And I'm just like, what the fuck is happening? Like, I'm sorry this is a family tradition in your guys' family, but this is so weird and so uncomfortable. And so I cut it short like after a minute. But like, what the hell? And that's one thing that really still irked me is him deciding to be half naked, oiled down, and showing off his muscles for everybody at this wedding.
Yeah, you can't be too thirsty at a wedding. You can't do it. You can't. I know we're both keeping hydrated, but you can't be too thirsty at a wedding. Sorry.
You can't be too thirsty at a wedding. No, you can't. Thank you. God.
That is an amazing story. I would say
ridiculous.
I would say we're about to wrap it. We've been almost talking for right underneath an hour, but I want to. Is there any other jobs, any kind of side gigs that you've done in your life? Any kind of things that were just like kind of like one-time offers? Like for example, I always say on this podcast, I got offered I got a hand model job once in Chicago. It kind of felt like I was going to get kidnapped, but someone had paid me to go be a hand model in Peoria, Illinois. When I was living in Chicago, and that someone like, I'll give you $100, and all you do is you walk around with men's watches or men's rings. People will grab your hand and look at the merchandise, and that's how they bid on them, because they don't sell as well when they're not on human wrists or fingers. So you will be basically a selling conduit for my stuff. I will give you money, and afterwards I will give you Dairy Queen. And the man, very nice man, gave me both money and Dairy Queen afterwards. And it was a very nice experience. Do you have any weird side gigs like that you were offered?
Wow. Well, hang on. So you must have nice hands then, right? Because
no, not at all. I don't think so. I
mean, yeah, those are nice, I guess.
They're fine.
He just needed a live hand, and okay, wow.
I think I was just more animated, and they're like, oh, this guy can walk up and down like because it was like a wedding where instead of the procession, instead of the bride and groom coming down, it was just I was go up. So two rows, there was like row of chairs on the other side, row of chairs, and then just like a little aisle that I could walk down, and I would just walk down like some kind of weird model and show my hands and show the watches, and that was it. And then they would bid, and people would grab my hands and look at my fingers or look at the watch that was on me, and they would, yeah. So
did you like that? Did you like having your hand that's a lot.
It was a little invasive. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't do it a second time, but it was a good story to have once.
That's wild, dude. I've never met a hand model before. So
and you still have not met a hand model. I just think this guy just paid. He's like, well, this guy has hands. Like, I'm not sure if all of his friends were just
this guy has hands.
Hooked pirates or something like that. They're like. But I don't know why I got picked, but it was an interesting experience to say the least.
That's awesome. That is an awesome experience.
Any weird side gigs though? Like anything
The weirdest side gig I ever had, it was while I was selling pillows, and I was by a booth with a woman who was selling jewelry, and she really liked the way I could, get people to my booth and talk. So she wanted me to work with her for a week in Puyallup, Washington.
Whoa.
Where I sold
can you say
Legos.
That again?
Puyallup.
Amazing.
It's really hard. It's a Y and a bunch of L's. Puyallup. Anyways, there in Washington, at the fair, and I will never forget this woman. She was so kind to me. I was still really unemployed, and she gave me a job for a week selling these Legos in Puyallup at a fair. And she was probably in her mid to late 30s. She had a kid that was with her, and she would just travel to these fairs and try to sell as much as she could to make a better life for her and her kid. we would like stay up late and smoke pot out of an apple. I had no idea you could do that, but she could do that. And she just like every morning we stayed in her like little dingy camper, and she would wake up listening to positive affirmations, and which woke me up. But like I was so inspired by like her hope and her dreams of a better life for her and her kid working at these fairs, and kind of makes me tear thinking about it. She just works so hard. And whereas like I just like didn't really give a fuck about anything when it came to jobs, and she just like put her heart and soul to everything to give a better kid for her life, and taught me how to smoke pot for an apple. And yeah, it was a good time. That was probably like the craziest experience I've ever had with the job. And I hope she's doing well.
I do too. I really hope she's doing well. I do like the idea of someone that was selling an item that you put together meticulously from a plan, listening to positive affirmations. I think that's a beautiful, like what a and then just smoke, just getting a little high, because isn't everything just a little better? You're like Lego. Yeah, let's sell some Legos. Let's sell some plastic blocks. Just a little high. And then and you could tell she was a nice person. No bowl. No, you know what? Apple. Let's she was positive affirmation. An apple a day keeps the doctor away, kind of thing. No one said it had to be not full of weed. We don't know. She just took one of those things like today, make today a little higher than you did last week. Okay, let's do it. That was well, this has been a wonderful conversation. I really enjoyed.
I had a great time, man.
This was so much fun. Tell people where they can find you on everything. Once shows start back up, or if you have any if you're doing stuff on social media, please share where everyone can find you.
Dude, hell yeah. Thank you. You can find me on Instagram. It's Rachelle Cochran. Facebook, same thing, Rachelle Cochran. Spotify, I also make some music, Dirty Racket. And Twitter, at it's Rachelle Coch, because I don't have enough room for the RIN. So, thank you so much, David.
This was so much fun.
I can't believe it's already an hour.
And if, like I said, I have to put a permission in the whole thing. But if you want to, I can do the outro, maybe one of your songs on Spotify. I have to put as used by permission by Dirty Racket. I can make that the outro music. Just let me know. And so we'll do that. Send me a message. But give me the name of the track you probably think it's going to be, or do you know, or the album?
Yeah.
And then we'll hear that track.
Can it be a song with profanity in it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Well, there's a music video coming out for the song soon.
Okay.
And it's entitled "Why There Gotta Be So Many Fucking Douchebags."
There you go.
The name of this song that we'll be playing. Yeah.
So please get ready to hear that song right now as soon as this podcast is over. Thank you so much, Rachelle. It's been an absolute pleasure. And we'll talk to you again real soon.
Thank you so much, David. Stay safe, stay healthy.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.